U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And thanks for joining us. That's all American business needed now was that strong U.S. dollar. We'll add that into the mix. What's the guidance that you see coming out of this earnings season and from companies about how difficult this will be to navigate, given that's the latest variable giving them trouble?
Well, look, we have a difficult environment to navigate. Business understands that. We've got high inflation. We're still coming out of COVID era. We still have uncertainty around supply chains. We need government action, policies that will, I think, help us shoulder the burden that we see with inflation at a record high, maybe even going higher, as David Solomon suggested. And we've got work to do. There are a lot of ways we can do it. We can increase, obviously, visas to make sure we have the jobs filled in this country. We can do better on oil and gas production domestically. And of course, President Biden tried to push that agenda with our friends in Saudi Arabia. And we can also try, of course, to provide tariff relief. We've talked about this a lot. For 18 months, the administration's been holding back tariff relief. $1,200 is what the average American family is paying extra because of tariffs. And right now, summertime, right, we got 25% tariffs on bicycles, 25% tariffs on suntan lotions, 25% tariffs on baseball gloves.
I was going to get into that later, but since you brought it up, okay, 1,200. There are some studies that say it's closer to just under 800. We're not going to quibble, but you know that labor organizations here in the United States say you're ruining American jobs. Why can't we onshore this? And that the tariffs are part of the onshoring. I mean, listen, where do you fall? Where do U.S. companies fall on this?
Well, look, there's no question that we can onshore and do better in certain areas. That's why we got behind the CHIPS Act, right? We want to see billions of dollars invested in semiconductors because we've seen U.S. production go from a high of 37% in the 1990s to 12% in this country right now. And of course, having semiconductor production here, fabrication production, is really critical to everything from autos to, dishwashers to PC computers. That's part of the solution. But another part is to provide tax relief to American families. And how do we do that? We lower tariffs for ordinary goods. Not everything's going to get produced in the United States. We can do some nearshoring, some reshoring in the United States, but not everything's going to get produced in the United States, nor should it be. And we need to produce things here that are critical to our competitiveness, but we also need to balance it with the reality that we're part of a global community, and the United States benefits when we export because we create jobs in this country.
Okay,
40 million Americans have jobs tied to international commerce. Let's not lose sight of that figure.
And I want to talk further about China in a second. Very quickly, on the tariffs, do you think they will be lifted? Coming days, coming weeks.
Look,
your ears to the ground.
I've had extensive conversations with people in the administration. I think the president and the administration will take action. The question is, will it be big and deep enough to help with inflation, or will it be more modest in its approach?
Okay, so they're going to. I hear you. They're going to lift some, but not all. On China and COVID, we are still seeing that country battle it out with that virus. A lot of shutdowns there. I mean, what have been the challenges that you are seeing for companies that are either doing business in China, U.S. companies that is, or those that rely on supply chains from there?
Well, obviously, in this geopolitical context with tensions very high between China and the United States, U.S. companies are factoring that in their boardroom decisions. There are less new investments going into China. That's not good in the long run for either China or the United States or the global community. We are seeing lockdowns that have affected business travel into China. No one's been traveling into that country for some time. And therefore, we've seen a decreasing environment, commercial environment. And we're seeing, actually, honestly, predatory practices in China. Unfair trade actions taken by the Chinese government that impact the mood and atmosphere as well. So there's a lot of work to be done on that front. I think China's economy is slowing down, but it remains such a critical economy to the world and to the United States and to our businesses. So we've got to be pragmatic. We need a coherent administration approach to China, and the business community needs to be helpful in this context.
Yeah, over to you. The U.S. Trade Representative has a lot of